Good morning, All Souls. I'm Reverend Bill Singford. My pronouns are he and him. Take me to the water, the earth, the air, the fire, the water. Take me to the basics, to the heart of things, to the comfort and to the justice, to the hope and to the love. We gather in this week when we have seen the moon eating the sun, when our eyes have been drawn toward the heavens and our thoughts drawn to reflection on our own place in the order of things. In this world that seems intent on trouble, take us to the water, to the comfort, to the justice, to the hope, and to the love. Come now, and let us worship together. Amen. We light our chalice to kindle the spirit of community, to hold us, to help us, to heal us. We light our chalice in faith, in hope, and in love. Please rise again in body or in spirit and join in our hymn for
Greetings to everyone out there, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to All Souls Church Unitarian. My name is Jana Owens, and I am your worship associate today, which means I get to greet you and welcome you. My pronouns are she and her. Here in DC, spring is in the air. Have you noticed? It's a beautiful day. It's going to be like 79 degrees or something like that. And despite, as she says, as she wipes her nose, the woes of pollen in the air, doesn't spring make us look forward to the beauty of our home? And by that I mean the earth as it wakes from its winter slumber. The All Souls congregation, as many of you know, is over 200 years old. And we walk diverse paths and meaning to find meaning and purpose, but we are united in the belief in the worth and dignity of everyone, and to have a place where all people are welcome at our table of love and fellowship. Our mission is to build what Dr. King called the beloved community, one that is justice-seeking and spirit-filled. Now, if you're visiting us for the first time, or you still feel kind of new here, you haven't met many people, I invite you to please raise your hand so we can give you an All Souls welcome. Do we have any visitors today? All right. Welcome. We're so glad you are here. And if you will please, after services, join us for coffee and pastries in Pierce Hall. Pierce Hall is to your right through these front double doors and across the hallway. There is a guest table in Pierce Hall where you can get more information about our church. And we ask you to grab a red coffee cup. We have red ones and we have white ones. The red ones indicate that you're new here, and that gives us the opportunity to give you a personal welcome. Now, the best way for me, and probably most of you, to find out what the major happenings are at All Souls is to read our weekly email newsletter. If you currently do not receive it, then you can sign up for it on our homepage, the church homepage, or if you're on Zoom, there's a link in the chat. Today, we honor the great legacy of indigenous and enslaved peoples and this international crossroads that we now call Washington, D.C. For generations, the indigenous Piscataway tribes have been the traditional caretakers of our bioregion. They were trading peoples in the region who lived along the Anacostia and the Potomac rivers. Over 200 years ago, Euro-American settler colonists founded this church, and we have inhabited 3 church buildings on different sites, and those sites were taken from indigenous peoples. Each was built by workers that were immigrants or that were descendants of enslaved and indigenous peoples. The heritage of all these ancestors is still here in this region and in our congregation. The All Souls Beloved community is pledging to learn more about these complex histories. Let's learn together wherever we reside as we begin with the past and we imagine the future. And now let's greet one another. First, those here in the sanctuary, let's turn around and wave at people who are on Zoom, because we have cameras back there, and say hello. And if you're on Zoom, I invite you, as you are able and willing, to turn your camera on and wave at people and text to them in the Zoom chat. If you're here in the sanctuary, I invite you to get up and move around as you are comfortable and take a couple of minutes to say hello. Let's get up and greet each other. I invite you to join us after services. I invite you to join us after services in Pierce Hall. And again, welcome to All Souls Church.
Hello, I am Keith Arnold, pronouns he and him, All Souls Acting Director of Music and Arts. As your liturgist today, I'll share some information about upcoming events and activities to take note of. And as I begin, I'll invite Maya Herman and Morgan Duncan to come up for a special announcement. The REEB Project voting rights table in the lobby to your left after the service will have postcards for the Get Out to Vote in Georgia. You can also get more information about the Regional UU Voter Organizing School happening here on April 27th. Find out more and take collective action. There are many announcements in the order of service, which I encourage you to take note of, all of the ways to engage with All Souls, both in person and online. Your order of service says that there is an announcement about Hope Rises by Ed Novak, which we heard before the service. So instead, I'll turn to an announcement from our Ministerial Search Committee and Board of Trustees.
Good morning, All Souls. I'm Morgan Duncan. I am the co-chair of the Ministerial Search Committee.
And I'm Maya Herman. I'm president of your Board of Trustees.
I remember back when I was 8 or 9, racing over to a friend's house, eager to spend the afternoon playing this brand new game he'd gotten for his birthday. We all arrived to admire the big unopened box and play this crazy game we'd seen on the commercials. It was called Mousetrap. Perhaps you've heard of it. Everyone was super excited, but I happened to notice the ominous words in an unobtrusive font in the bottom corner of the box that said, "Some assembly required." We were not destined to spend a blissful afternoon playing this amazing game. We were instead going to spend the next few hours arguing and groaning as we faced the 10,000 little plastic pieces and a page of vague, incomprehensible instructions. when we were all crying tears of frustration, and the kid who owned the game suggested it might be fun to play a new game involving the mess we'd made and a ball-peen hammer, I thought to call my teenage cousin Joe, who would later become an engineer. He spent a minute or two reading the instructions all the way through. We hadn't considered that. Then he patiently told us how to put it together. Unfortunately, by the time we finished, we all had to go home to dinner. A couple of years ago, this congregation picked a committee of people to search for a minister to replace Reverend Hardees. Pretty early in that task, the Board of Trustees made us aware of the extent of the water damage to this building and how much it was going to cost to fix it. Other complicated problems became apparent around the same time, issues of how we decide what to do and who's going to do it, issues of how we deal with each other in times of crisis. And it became clearer and clearer to the search committee that offering this pulpit to a new called minister would be like handing them a box labeled "Some Assembly Required." So the committee adjusted its search to find a developmental minister, someone who specialized in helping congregations put things together, a sort of spiritual version of my cousin Joe. And I'm pleased to tell you this morning that we have found such a person. We made our challenges clear to them and found that they are eager to guide us as we continue to build something amazing here. Later this summer, we will welcome to this pulpit Reverend Anastasia Zinke.
During the search process, Reverend Anastasia stood out to us as a minister who practices relationship, trust building, and community connection. She currently serves as Minister of Equal Standing at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Annapolis, Maryland. She previously served as the called minister at All Souls Unitarian in Indianapolis, Indiana. She's a former member of our congregation here, and she served as our summer minister in 2010. The experience Reverend Anastasia brings is compelling. She has led successful fundraising and congregational growth at other UU congregations, and she has a track record of helping congregations work through conflict and its aftermath. In fact, when members of the search committee spoke with her references, they specifically heard about her skill in fostering spiritual repair following difficult experiences. She's strongly committed to our eighth principle work and our goal to strengthen our ability to welcome leaders with marginalized identities. We are so grateful for the wonderful ministry and great organizational work that Reverend Bill Sinkford has provided to All Souls over the last 2 years. We will be sharing more information about plans to celebrate his ministry as he concludes his time with our community in June. And we'll share opportunities to welcome and get to know Reverend Anastasia after she joins us on July 1st. And on behalf of the board, I also want to thank all of the members of the Ministerial Search Committee for their commitment and hard work over the past 3 years. The next few years are going to be an exciting and transformative time in the life of All Souls. We're looking forward to working with Reverend Anastasia and with all of you and all of the staff of All Souls to bring about the change that our community needs. Thank you.
Thank you.
What a day. What news. we take a moment to hold the Ministerial Search Committee, Reverend Bill, Reverend Anastasia, and all Souls in all of the transitions. In the space of a breath, breathing it in and breathing it out. And this day, turning ourselves now to the cares and concerns of this congregation. Today we celebrate with Carol Falk and Alan Johnson, who shared that their daughter, Erica, who grew up here at All Souls and sang with the Jubilee Singers when she was in high school, Erica had a 7-pound, 4-ounce baby boy Friday afternoon. And we welcome to the world Aldo John Deal. Healing prayers this day to Meredith Higgins Hargrave as she recovers in a rehab residence in Burtonsville. She was in the hospital all last week, so we are glad she was ready to move. And we're sending patience and stamina to Meredith and primary caregiver, daughter Anna Hargrave. We send condolences to Gregory Ford, whose mother, Betty Ford, died on Friday, March 7th. Her memorial service was held in Sacramento, California. We wish Gregory and the extended family well in this time of transition. Today we remember Gail Hunt Henry, a former All Souls member who died recently of ovarian cancer. Gail and her wife, Sam Francis, were active members of River Road, and her memorial took place there earlier this week. We send love to Sam, their children, Michael and Maggie, and extended family. Please feel free to speak aloud or type into the chat the names on your heart, joys and concerns. Would you join me in prayer? Spirit of life, hold all who have been named today in this space and those names left unspoken. Let us feel connected to one another in the joys that are celebrated and during times of trial. With our hearts toward the Middle East, we hold all who are impacted by unfolding and prolonged tragedies, by conflicts that endure for generations. All those who live in fear and terror, we call you to mind this day. For all of us, all who find themselves in harm's way, who face a diagnosis or injury, may we not forget that all things are connected, that we are a part of the universe, never apart from it, our energies and destinies intertwined. May it be so, and amen.
A Model of the Universe by Norman Fisher is our reading. What we want is a model of the universe that includes everything, leaving nothing out, yet is completely different, fresh, unique, holding nothing in common with any of its constituent elements, yet it's not strange or exotic, and it does not make us feel uncomfortable. What we want is a model of the universe that will answer all of our questions, to which we can refer for all kinds of advice. How to foretell the future, cure bursitis, get rich quick, aphrodisiac, etc. And will be absolutely foolproof 100% of the time. What we want is a model of the universe so complex we can never understand it, yet so simple we can grasp it at a glance and explain it to our friends in a few simple sentences. What we want is a model of the universe we can count on time after time, yet is never tiring, never predictable, and eternally new. What we want is a model of the universe that explains everything, yet doesn't take the mystery out of anything. In fact, adds mystery even to the simplest of our daily actions. A model of the universe that keeps us fit and eating healthy food. A model of the universe in which we appear never overweight nor old. Yet we don't actually want to appear in this model of the universe. We want to be beyond it, holding it in our hand, looking at it from a distance. We don't want to feel alien from it, though, either. We want love. We want a model of the universe in which we can always stay home, yet be able to travel whenever we want to remote places where all foreign languages are actually English, though they never lose their ethnic charm. What we want is a model of the universe held within the total shape of time so that it neither begins nor ends, is neither something nor nothing. What we want is a model of the universe in which this poem therefore never ends and in which it never began. A model of how this world works and our place in it. A theory of the universe. What was I thinking when I announced this sermon? Was I planning to make some final reveal of how I believe things actually work? A well thought out and coherent understanding that would explain suffering, hate, and evil and guaranteed a path toward justice, joy, and love. A reveal of a systematic theology that would explain everything, yet allow us to live in the mystery. Did I plan to offer some perfect word from this pulpit that I have kept hidden from you all these months? Well, no, certainly not that, but I will try to make a few things plain. I remember when I was first elected president of the UUA, being asked to offer opinions on all manner of weighty theological questions, to take sides on disputes our faith had been dealing with for decades. Are we Christian or have we moved beyond Christianity, Bill? Is our individual inherent worth and dignity more important than our interconnectedness and community? Can our theology and religious culture appeal to more Black folks, Bill? We would say BIPOC folks today. I had to remind folks that they had not elected me to be a miracle worker or to be theologian in chief. At most, my role as UUA president was to be questioner in chief, to raise questions for community discernment. Questioner in chief in public is actually closer to what I mean because we all ask questions. You all do all of the time. Ministers just do it from the pulpit. And the UUA president speaks from the tallest pulpit in our faith. Your new developmental minister, Anastasia, will not bring magical answers or perfect solutions for this congregation. But the questions she asks and the direction that will take shape in your answers will allow you to know your truth and your hopes more clearly, and therefore shape a future grounded in that truth together. Anastasia will not do the work for you. All the souls will need to shape this next chapter for this remarkable church. UU congregations, do not expect our ministers to speak some capital T truth. Our ministers speak only with an authority earned by study and practice and the groundedness of spirit that our lives grant us. The truth we ministers can offer is not some abstract and cosmic truth, but an embodied truth, just as the truth that each of you knows grows out of the embodied lives that you live. Not abstract, perfect, cosmic truth, but embodied truth. Now, perhaps our individual truths are somehow held within a larger truth that we do not passively receive. Perhaps there's a larger truth that we can help create. That's why we sing, Spirit of Life, come unto me, because we know, or we hope, or we dare to believe that there is a larger love that moves through us. A larger love not defined by our personal limits, a larger love within which our lives are lived and in which our lives find their home. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Let me take a step back and start this reflection a little closer to the beginning. Did the eclipse capture your imagination earlier this week? Yes? A lot of us anyway. Some members of our community actually traveled to see totality of the eclipse. I've talked with a couple of them. They said it was worth the trip. But did most of you at least go outside with those wonderful eclipse glasses or borrow a pair of glasses from someone who was standing near you and look up and see the moon obscuring part of the sun? How many of you did actually do that? Almost everybody. Not quite, but almost. Did it leave you feeling like you were a part of a larger system, more connected to some larger reality, some larger mystery? Or did it leave you underwhelmed? That was the case for some folks I know. The eclipse was only partial here in DC, after all. Did it make you curious, trying to remember what you learned about celestial mechanics way back in school for many of us? How the eclipse was about alignment of the sun and the moon and the earth, but also about proportion, the smaller moon appearing equal in size to the much larger sun because of the relative distances involved. Or did it even leave you wondering about your own place in this larger system that seems so mechanical for all of its mystery? Did you find yourself asking where your own joys and your struggles, where your loving and your yearning to be loved, did you find yourself wondering where your life fits in the life of the universe? Is that where your curiosity finally centered? At least for me, it did feel like we had a front row seat for a display of the mechanics of the universe at work, moving as we watched. I kept thinking of those desktop models of the solar system. Do any of you remember them? You know, with the sun in the center and the planets revolving, the tiny moon revolving around the pea-sized Earth. So precise, so orderly, so interrelated. We understand those movements and those relationships. We do. Science has taught us. We know exactly when the next eclipse will be visible in this part of the planet. We might almost think that we're in control. That mechanical model of the universe is actually deep in the DNA of the religious tradition that we have inherited here at All Souls. This is the notion of a watchmaker God, it's called, a creator who set all this that we know in motion like a watchmaker, each gear carefully calibrated to fit with the other gears in the system. There's actually a wonderful hymn, Bring Many Names, that some of you know, that talks about a strong mother God setting each equation. That's the watchmaker God, a creator who sets things in motion and then steps back somehow and what? Admires her handiwork? A creator who sets up the rules and then steps back, no longer active, no longer involved in the system. And our human task in this model of the universe is to study and to understand the system, to get the rules so that we can enjoy, so that we can use creation, and perhaps even live in harmony with it. Harmony with it. Do you begin to see some of the challenges of this theology? Do we learn to use creation or to use it up? Think climate change. Exxon and all of the extractive industries love this model of the universe. They love it. And so did many of our religious ancestors. The theology here is called deism, and it was the liberal religious alternative to the Calvinist God, that angry God who was very involved in every life, punishing most of us for our shortcomings and rewarding a few of us with a trip to heaven, separating the saved from the damned. That was God's work. So deism was the alternative model, the fallback model of the universe for the early Unitarians. Think of them as recovering Calvinists, reacting to that external punishing judgment. They included William Ellery Channing, who brought the phrase all souls to this faith, John Quincy Adams, one of the founding members of this church now called All Souls, our Unitarian religious ancestors. It was a very empowering theology. We just have to figure out the way things work, have to know the rules, and we can change the world for the better. The early Unitarians added that moral dimension, for the better. Figure out how bacteria and viruses work and develop vaccines. We can get this all figured out. They believed there was a perfection we can attain, or at least approach. Do you know that one of Channing's most reprinted sermons was titled Likeness to God? Perfectionism is deep in our religious DNA. And I love that anthem that Jubilee sang. God is perfection, and whoever strives after perfection is striving after God. Our Unitarian ancestors, they would have been up and saying amen. Well, probably not, because they were much too controlled for that, but you get my point. You get my point. We've learned about some of the downsides of that focus on perfection. We truly have. We now ask, well, who decides what is perfect and who benefits from that definition? We're beginning to realize just how many possibilities get closed off when a single idea of perfection is enforced, and how much curiosity, how much creativity gets shut down by it. But I have to tell you, excellence is still and will always be important in my life, and I bet in many of yours. It will most certainly be important in the life of this church. Just ask the choirs here at All Souls if excellence is important to them. Ask the search committee listening to all those sermons of potential ministers. Perfectionism has real challenges, but are we ready to abandon excellence as a goal? I don't think so. Can we critique a model of the universe, that watchmaker model, without discarding its strengths as resources for us? You know I critique the Unitarian side of our family tree. You have heard me do it over and over. But I am deeply Unitarian. That belief that we can change the world for the better, that's the way that I try to live, and the way most of you try to live too. Our Universalist ancestors embraced a very different model of how life works. They too rejected the Calvinist notions of divine punishment, even more explicitly than the early Unitarians. But the watchmaker God, well, that was not the God that they knew. God for them was not a distant watchmaker. They said, look, it says it right here in this book. God is love. It says it right here. They said, we are all lovable, all already loved. God lives in our lives as the love we receive and the love we give, as the justice we are called to create, and as a larger love that somehow holds us in this mess of a world we have made. A larger love that somehow is here for us and home for us. God is love, intimate and demanding and hopeful. Hope that does not grow out of our ability to control creation. You've heard me preach out of that model of the universe for 2 years now. This is the model, the hope that Rob Hardy's preached out of too, and the hope that Rebecca Parker and Rob Keithan and Louise Green have voiced from this pulpit. Not a model of an orderly and already completed creation that we simply need to understand in order to control. You do know that watches are made quite differently today. If you even wear a watch rather than relying on your phone, they're digital. The gears are gone, and they're much more accurate. And the science of that watchmaker, the goal of understanding the mechanics of the universe, those equations that govern movement and change, science now centers on uncertainty, on probability, on constant change. Here is a quote I love from a piece called Eulogy from a Physicist by Aaron Freeman. You want a physicist to speak at your funeral and tell your grieving family about the conservation of energy, so they will understand that your energy has not died. Every atom and every iota of the energy that is you lives on. According to the law of the conservation of energy, not a bit of you is gone. You are just a little bit less orderly. Just a little less orderly. I love that phrase. This model of the universe, where conservation is the truth and creation is constant. In this system, God is not a distant watchmaker, nor an angry parent ready to punish us. God is what then? Perhaps the place where we are held. God is the process that holds the whole together with the possibility of love. God is not the unmoved mover of the deist, but the being, the presence that is most moved by the world. This is a theology of process, not of conclusion, and it's not organized around control or domination. A theology of curiosity, of constant creation. Every act we make is a contribution to the world. And the question for us, to quote Rebecca Parker, is whether our actions will be a blessing or a curse. That's the question for us. In this model of the universe, The basic question is not, what do I want, but what do I have to give? What do I have to contribute? And the power of God, or the Spirit of life, do the translation, please. The power of God is the power to inspire us, to persuade us, to lure us toward love. You see, if God is love, as the Universalists proclaimed, imagine God as lover. Sit with that image. God as lover, as co-creator, as partner in the dance of life. Now, though we've been trying to live into this model of the universe for some time, some of us, a few decades, some of us, in cosmic time, that is not even the blink of an eye. We're still trying this model on for size. And there are challenges with it we can already see. The problem of evil is one we know is a challenge. How do we deal with the reality that evil, that harm, that oppression can be created just as well as more love can be created? There are challenges with this model of the universe. I want to acknowledge that. But it does have strengths. It is almost as if we're trying to unleash its power as we gradually realize how constrained our lives have been by the models of the universe we now reject and the culture that developed based on those models. We are recovering Calvinists, many of us, and we are recovering deists, almost all of us. And what do we know about recovery? We know that it is best done, almost always best done, in community. And our hope is that we recovering deists can open ourselves to lives of more love and more satisfaction and a world of more justice and more joy. This process model is not perfect. But if there is a model of the universe, an idea about how things work, if there is a theology that I want to follow, to put my faith in, not uncritically, no, but if there is a theology that I want to bet on, if there's a theology that you want to bet on, if there's a theology that we are willing to bet our lives on, it is a theology that at least offers the possibility that love can be real, and that love can have power, and that love can be our destination in the end. A theology that honors our capacity and our power as co-creators, yes, even our pursuit of excellence, as complicated as that may be, yes, that too. But a theology and a theory of the universe that also opens our hearts to be inspired and lured and even embraced by a spirit of life that calls us to live lives of compassion for ourselves and for one another and for the planet. A spirit of life that can best be known only as love. May that be so. Ashe and amen.
Amen, or as we say in the South, amen. A church serves multiple purposes and reasons, for existing. And one of those is support and help to one another. A few people have, when I've come to church recently, because I wasn't coming for a while, have come up and said, well, gee, I haven't seen you. Where, where have you been? I haven't seen you in a while. Well, life happens, and sometimes we have difficulties in life. And it affects how often you maybe even get motivated to go to church. That's been me, but that's where your church comes in. I've selectively talked to people, I've talked to clergy, and I'm telling you all of this because consider as the offering plates pass or as you donate otherwise this morning, reflect on how All Souls has supported you, your family, a family member in the past, and the fact that you may need that support in the future. So consider that, and also consider that All Souls has long worked to serve local needs in partnership. And each month we have our Share the Plate collection, where the recipient organization gets half of all the non-pledged contributions that go into the plates. This month, it's the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee, which is a nonprofit, non-sectarian organization that advances human rights together with an international community of grassroots partners and advocates. So if you're in the sanctuary today, the ushers are going to be passing the plates. You also have the options of, if it has it on the screen there, you can text ASCU to 73256. There's also a QR code, I think, still on the back, on a sticker on the back of the pews in front of you. If you're on Zoom, you can go into the chat and click on a link and donate that way. Thank you for your generosity in advance.
the body and of spirit for our next hymn.
The question is not, what do we want, but what do we have to give? The goal for us here is beloved community and movement toward a peace based on justice and a hope based on the power of love. In this church called All Souls, our journey is toward wholeness and toward healing for ourselves and healing for our world. May that be so. Ashe and Amen.
There's a place in your heart, and I know that it is love. And this place will be much brighter than tomorrow.
And if you really try, you'll find there's no need to cry. In this place, you'll feel there's no hurt or sorrow.
And
Savior